my parents just didn't have a good marriage from the start. From a very young age, I just picked up these messages that actually the people that are supposed to protect and love me they're not safe. I just remember jumping into my dad's arms when they told me and just being like, please don't leave, Dad. I felt like quite responsible for my mum. There were 6 kids, there was no money. She just couldn't cope. And so, I remember she just would start smashing bowls and she'd just be on the ground just like smashing bowls like nobody loves me, and like, like as an adult I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could scoop her up. But as a kid I felt not only afraid and didn't know how to deal with it, but then I felt quite responsible. It's not worth it. Like I just felt so empty, so alone, so just like desperate for God to be back in my life, basically.
Hey, you're listening to the Outside of Sunday podcast. I'm Krista, and here you'll find genuine conversations and inspiring testimonies, as well as biblical encouragement on how to live your faith in and outside of Sunday. Hey Outsiders, it's Krista here, and today I'm sitting down with Charlotte, who's come here all the way from Tauranga. Thank you for being here, Charlotte.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, very nice to be here.
Yeah, such a joy just to be able to hang out, but that we can share our chats and our hangout with everybody who's listening and watching.
Yeah.
Well, before we get into it, because I know you've got a lot to share, a lot that the Lord has been doing, a lot on your heart, but before we get into that, I just wanted to share with everyone who is listening and watching online how it is that I actually came to hear about you and your story. So I was just doing my thing on Instagram, and one of my friends one day said, Krista, you need to stop what you're doing right now and go check out this girl that I've been following on Instagram. She'd been following you, I don't know how long, a couple of years. And she said, something's going on, look at her stories. And in your stories, because you have about 10,000 or so followers, and at the time I was just like, I didn't even know you, but she had been following you for a long time. And in your stories, you were dropping some serious truth about what the Lord has been doing in your life. Mm-hmm. And for her, she was like, I had no idea. This is amazing. You need to get her on your podcast. And so I reached out to you, and here we are.
Yeah, here we are. And I actually have a story to expand on with that. A few months ago, I was sitting in church and listening to the speaker, or maybe it was whatever. I was just like, man, I wonder if I was going to be up on, stage sharing a sermon, what would I speak about? What would I share? And I felt like God say to me, you write a sermon and I'll give you the microphone.
So cool.
Yeah. And I was like, was that God? Like it just was one of those moments that really felt like it was. And then, I kind of went on with my life and started thinking more about that. And I was like, I'll start writing a sermon. But then this one random day, I was walking my twins home from play centre, and I was listening to worship music, and I just really felt like the Holy Spirit come upon me. And I just got I was just like, I just need to write some stuff and share it on Instagram. And so I just sat down, like the twins were asleep, and I just started writing out some stories about what God's been doing in my life. And I kind of jokingly signed it off as, thank you for listening to my mini sermon. And didn't think anything of that, posted it, and then, a few hours later, you're like, do you want to come be on the podcast? And I just clicked, and I was like, oh my goodness, like God is not mucking around. Like I said the word sermon, and boom, there's the mic, So
Incredible.
Pretty wild.
So cool. I just love it how the Lord has brought us together for this. Yeah. And I'm just so happy to be able to help you to share what it is that the Lord has been doing and speaking to you. So let's go. So where do you want to start? Should we start at the beginning?
Yeah.
It's always a great place to start.
Great place to start. Yeah. Because my story, is pretty wild right from the beginning. Mm-hmm. I actually want to start, I think, before me and start with my parents, because I think like family history is so important.
Totally.
So my dad is a first generation Christian. He was raised in his upbringing was really sad. Like he was raised he had a really abusive upbringing. His dad was an alcoholic. I never met him. He died quite early, but there was just a lot of abuse that went on in that home, and I don't even know the half of it. He doesn't like to talk about it too much, but the few stories I have heard, I'm just like, oh my goodness. When he and I'm obviously not going to share any of those stories, but when he left home, he was in a gang.
Your dad was in a gang?
Dad was in a gang. Once again, he doesn't talk about those days. I don't know what kind of gang, but he was like, yeah, I was in a gang. I was like, whoa, okay.
Whoa.
But he was a real seeker, and from what he's told me, it's just like, man, I just got to this point where I was like, there has to be more than this. And he started, seeking, and he ended up in a Pentecostal church and gave his life to God. And
praise the Lord.
Yeah, honestly, wow. I am so grateful that he brought like God and into our blood, like into our family line.
He just changed the direction that your family was going. Well,
Absolutely.
that's what coming to Christ does, eh? It just, as you said, changes your bloodline. Now your bloodline is Jesus.
Yeah.
And the direction that the generations go after that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's still potential for people to choose their own path, but man, what a way to set yourself apart and set your family apart.
Yeah, I absolutely believe that. Yeah. Well, I mean, if that didn't happen, hey, I actually probably wouldn't be here.
Wow. Yeah.
Because he wouldn't have met my mum at church. But anyway, yeah, I'm so grateful for that. And I've told him that many times because I'm like, I don't know where I would be in my life without God. Like,
yeah,
don't even want to think about it. So he's, at this Pentecostal church, he goes all in by the time he meets my mum, who grew up as a Christian. So her dad was a first-generation Christian. He became a Christian to get a job. But
interesting.
Okay. Which was a good move because he ended up taking over that company. It was really successful. But and then he raised his family to be Christians. And so my mum grew up in a Christian family, really like in the church, like really quite strict, only allowed to hang out with other Christians. And that was kind of her upbringing. But really beautiful upbringing at the same time, like quite just really safe, secure, beautiful family. And then, their worlds collided when they met at church, and within 5 months they were married and pregnant.
Whoa!
I only found that out recently, and it was like
so quick.
It makes a lot of sense.
Was that you, or was that
no? So my older brother, honeymoon baby.
Mm-hmm.
So wild to think about that and like knowing their journey. That makes a lot of sense, but so they came from two completely different worlds. My dad grew up in state housing in the poor part of town. This is in Invercargill, and my mum's from this, like solid Christian family, and their worlds collide, and so fast they just fully become one. And they lived in Invercargill, like I said. They felt like they had my older brother, my older sister, and then around that time they felt like they got called out of church. God was like, hey, I want you guys to, just leave church. It's not how I intended it to be. And look, I'm not like going to get into that at all or make any judgments. I'm like, if that's what they felt like God called them to do, then that's the journey that they went on. And when my mum was pregnant with me, they decided to leave Invercargill, which is where they both grew up. All their family were, apart from my mum's older sister, she had moved up to the North Island past Auckland, and so that's what they did as well. They left everything they knew and just moved up there. And so...
Whereabouts did they move to? Up by Auckland?
No, so north of Auckland. So my first... when I was born, the first place I lived was Tihana, which you probably have never heard of, but because it's this tiny drive-through town, and if you know, it's just past Wellsford, and it's just like there's nothing to it, and it's just I don't know, it's hilarious, it's just funny. But we lived in a converted cowshed, and the reason we had to leave was because rats kept jumping into my bassinet and like nibbling, apparently.
Oh my goodness!
So like we should get
Wow.
So funny we start to laugh, but I think I was born into quite an unstable environment. So, my parents had just left everything they knew, come to this random little area and, had no community. They stopped going to church.
And literally gone from one end of the country to the other. It's almost no further that you could go unless you went all the way to the top. But wow, that's incredible.
Yeah, massive move. And so yeah, I've kind of already painted this picture that there were like my parents just didn't have a good marriage from the start. It just wasn't a stable marriage, and yeah, we moved around. Like they just felt really unsettled. They didn't know where to settle. We moved around a lot. We ended up in Waihi Beach by the time my little brothers were born after me, and I think I picked up on some. For me, personally, I picked up on some messages from quite an early age, just through experiences that I obviously don't remember as a young child because I was too young, but I know that my body stored those things because when I got told about them as an adult, the way that my body responded and like the emotion that came out, I'm like, oh my goodness, this is wild. So when I was like 6 months old, my mum was holding me and she was like super stressed out because my older brother and sister were like, I don't know, like losing it. She needed to deal to them. And so she said to my dad, can you please hold Charlotte? And he just was like, hey, you wanted it, you deal with it, you hold it. And while that's not a wild, crazy story, I just think, I think the first 3 years of our lives are so crucial, like that's when we are picking up all the messages in the most crucial developmental stage of our lives.
Yeah.
And
scientifically it is.
That's just scientifically backed. And so, I remember when I found out about that as an adult, it was when we were at the hospital meeting the first grandchild in our family, and I happened to be there at the same time as my parents meeting them, and it was a little baby girl, so beautiful and cute, and my dad's holding her, and I just had the sadness just washed over me, and I had no idea what this emotion was about, but I was just like, it's almost like a longing. I was just watching my dad just cradle this little bubba, and I was just like, so sad. My parents came in different cars, and so afterwards I just spoke to my mum in the car park, and I was like, man, like that was a real intense emotion for me. Like I was so, and she randomly just told me the story. She goes, that story that I just told you, when you were this age and blah, blah, blah. And I just lost it.
Wow.
So unexpected. Like I was just like crying my eyes out, and it just, I think it was just like releasing that emotion that I stored all of this time.
And you said that like, now that you learned those things now, other things in your life made sense.
Yes, exactly.
So you think that impacted you? Wow.
Yeah, I really do. And then when I was 2 years old, my dad said that we were at home. He came into the lounge because he heard me screaming, and it was like, an intense scream. So he comes in, and my mum has me pinned against the wall, and she was in such a state of rage that he couldn't, like she was just raging at me, and he just couldn't stop her. Like the rage, she was just in this state. And from what I've been told, I was quite a difficult toddler, like big emotions, quite highly strung, very stubborn. And I have two times 2-year-olds right now, and one of them, Tulip, my little baby girl, she is a mini me. She is exactly like that. Like she looks like me. That is exactly how I would kind of describe her. And so it's difficult, and I totally get it. But if you are in a state where like your emotions, you're not in control of your emotions, but they're in control of you, I think that's when not only can you hurt yourself, but you can, that's when others get hurt too. And so,
and they talk about that, like in, I don't know if you ever did like the space, when they...
No, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. So the hospital can enroll you in these classes especially for first-time mums, and they teach you things like if your emotions are getting the better of you when it comes to your baby, let your baby cry and go into another room, close the door, deal with your emotions, get right, and then... But if you don't have those tools, things like that can happen.
Yeah, exactly. Like your emotions bleed out onto others. And so, like I say, I just think like I couldn't fathom. And I just want to pause here and say I'm going to tell stories that are going to paint a certain picture about my parents. And that's all, like, it's all truth and it all happened. However, I can, as an adult, totally understand that they had, no tools and they were doing the best that they could with what they had, and that our relationship has been a journey, but we're in a really good place now. So I just want to say that.
And they know that you were coming here to share certain stories.
And I've told them and got their permission to share all of this. So we're all good. But yeah, and so I just can't fathom doing that to my little 2-year-old, because I am her safe place. I am her safety, her nurture, her love. And so I think, like I said, from a very young age, I just picked up these messages that actually the people that are supposed to protect and love me they're not safe. And whilst that might not be the full truth, because I was just tiny, that is, I believe that's the messaging that I sort of like, that's how I interpreted it.
Yeah.
And stored those messages in my body. And I don't reckon I don't think they were isolated things because of the memories that I do have. I'm like, I wouldn't be surprised if there were more things like that happened in my first 3 years of life. So yeah, there were lots of memories of, unfortunately, like physical, I guess, the physical things that happened in those states of rage. Like I got many memories of, like, we got smacked growing up, right? Like, what kid in the 90s did
I got
not?
smacked, yeah.
But it was, and for a majority of the time, it was a very, like, it was a discipline thing.
Yeah.
But I have memories, unfortunately, of, like my mum in those states of rage, like on top of me, like hitting into me. And whilst I didn't get like black eyes and stuff, it was really scary. And my big sister still like talks to this when she shares the memory of her walking into the room one day because she heard me like losing it. And she still cries when she sees, because she just couldn't do anything, Wow. And and so I've got many memories of that. And then also, like, I remember this one time she slapped me across the face and was just like, I'm so sick of hearing your voice. And that was when I was like 6 or 7 years old. And I just, constant things like that happening really shapes you as a person.
Yeah.
And that actually became like a real theme in my life around my voice, because that wasn't the only time that got spoken over me about my voice. And that impacted me so deeply. Just people would say comments like, oh, I'm so sick of, or like, your voice is so annoying, or like, no one cares what you have to say. Just, it meant nothing to them. It was just a throwaway comment, but just the time, the place, and the age and stage I was at, it just really impacted me. But anyway, that's another whole story. And so, so my parents ended up having, there's 6 kids in my family. Like I said, we moved around a lot.
Where are you in the order of kids?
So I'm number 3.
You're number 3.
So essentially like the middle child. We moved around a lot, and we ended up, by the time my little sister was born, we lived on the Hibiscus Coast. And I was, at my 3rd primary school. My parents bought a house finally on the Hibiscus Coast. And then my mum had an emotional affair with someone's dad from my class. Wow. And she was and you can imagine, like, obviously an emotional affair kicks off, like, that's a massive rupture in a marriage. And so that kicked off. And a family. And the family. And she was very open about it. So she was, she would just say things like, if I'd met this guy before your dad, I would have married him, and I'm in love with him. And wow, very open, like really open about it. And they would openly argue about it. And so it just kicked off this big mess. And they separated for the first time when I was about 6, and I just remember that, and it's just so sad. Like I just remember jumping into my dad's arms when they told me, and just being like, please don't leave, Dad. Heartbreaking. Real sad. Just so many constant sad things like that happened. And lots of like I remember my mum told me, she was like, oh yeah, when I miss him, I just want to ring him just to hear his voice. Not talking about your dad. No, the guy, the
Yeah.
other guy. And so she, like this, and she literally rang him, and I heard him pick up and be like, hello. And she was like, just silent. And then she hung up after a while, and she's like, yeah, just do that whenever I miss. And I was just like, as a 6-year-old, you don't, how do you, that's
And you
just
don't
so
know
inappropriate.
this is inappropriate, borderline, oh, well, I don't know if it's okay for me to say, but like toxic behavior.
Yes, it is. It is. It absolutely is. Very immature behavior. And parent role reversal was a very, very common theme as well. Like, so my parents, when they split up for that first time, that was the start of many years of separations. Like, by the time I was 16, I had lived in over 20 houses.
Whoa.
Because of, well, first of all, because of just being unsettled and finding a place, but then because they split up so often. Like, honestly, it was a lot. And what would happen generally is my older brother and sister would stay with my dad, and I would go with my mum with my 2 little brothers and sisters. So I kind of became like, the oldest one, and I felt like quite responsible for my mum, and, I saw her upset just so often. In fact, she started to kind of lose it. Like, she just couldn't cope around that time of that emotional affair. The marriage was already bad. She had created this big mess. There were 6 kids. There was no money. Her husband had left, and she just couldn't cope. And so, and obviously had some sort of rage issues. And so there would be times where she would just lose it. And, we would have neighbourhood kids over at our house. That was kind of the house we did have. It was quite open door, but something would happen, and then, I remember she just would start smashing bowls, and she'd just be on the ground just like smashing bowls, like nobody loves me. And like, like looking back, man, like as an adult, I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I could scoop her up. But as a kid, I felt not only afraid and didn't know how to deal with it, but then I felt like a lot of quite responsible, to be there for her. And so she talks now about many times where she would be in her room after something would have happened. She'd be real upset, and I would be the one that would come in and console her and make sure she was okay. Like, it wasn't ever my dad, unfortunately. So, and then times where, something had happened, or maybe my parents would just, had a massive session of absolutely losing at each other, and I'd be in my room really upset and needing to be consoled myself. And I have more than one memory of my dad coming in, and like, here's me so upset and just needed to be nurtured and looked after, and instead it would be my dad in tears, and he'd just be like, I don't know what to do, Shah, like, I just don't love your mum anymore.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And it's like,
I know
be careful what I
look. I know
say.
You've processed this already with your parents, and like, I know that you guys are good now. But I can understand how. First of all, how is a child supposed to handle that kind of information?
Yeah.
Especially the question even being directed toward you. Like, what am I supposed to do?
Yeah. And I think as a little child, like, I was 12, it's like at this critical age of my self-worth developing, and like hearing, oh, my mum's not lovable. Am I lovable? Like, just massive, just massive things like that constantly happening. And at one point, okay, so back to this, this time of the emotional affair, my mum wanted to, when it was kind of all over, she's like, I have to get out of this town, I can't be here anymore. So, but my dad was really established in his local signwriting business, and he was like, I don't want to leave. And she was like, I have to leave. So she took my little brothers and sisters back to Waihi Beach, and we lived there for a year, and my older brother and sister stayed. And my dad would come every weekend to see us. It's just wild. So at one point we were a split family that lived in different regions, and when he came, it would just be like, they'd just blow up at each other every time.
Oh no.
And I'm kind of jumping here, but like, with my mum's, like, it was so just, there was no safety or stability, like she'd be cooking dinner and then something would happen and suddenly she's just like swiped the whole bench, like smashing plates. There'd be food everywhere, and you'd just like,
Whoa.
it was just such an intense environment, and that kind of stuff just happened all the time. Like if it wasn't them yelling at each other or Dad packing up to leave, like it would be me getting home from school and Mum's like, jump in the car, like we're going for a drive, and I'd be like, this sounds sus, but okay. Get in, the boot's packed, you know, and then it's like, oh, we're leaving, and it's like, okay, where are we going? Oh, well, I don't actually have anywhere for us to go as such. We're just going to go stay in a campground.
Wow.
So yeah, multiple times we'd either like stay in campgrounds for a week until she'd sussed a plan, or a couple of times we stayed in the women's refuge, which on that note, not for like physical abuse. I just want to say that my dad never hit my mum. Just more emotional kind of stuff. I think with my dad's upbringing, he just was never role modeled, you know, love in a marriage and emotional safety, and which I totally get. And so, yeah, that just went on for years. And not only, and then, yeah, when I was 10, my mum decided she wanted to do a law degree.
Mm-hmm.
Which, look, oh my goodness, incredible. Like such an inspiring story, really.
I know, because especially the picture that you're painting is, you know,
Chaos,
poverty even, emotional instability. And now she's going to do a law degree?
Yeah, which like as a young person with no responsibilities, that's stressful and big enough thing in your life. But can you imagine, like, my dad's fully not supportive of it. He, I think even at the time, wasn't living with us. And she's just, like, bless her, she honestly was like, I want to, you know, do this for you kids.
Yeah.
But it came at a cost. Like, it just meant she was gone for the next 5 years. She failed one year in Auckland, so she had to go to Waikato University. And so it just was like, she was just gone.
What was your living arrangement during that time when she was doing the law degree?
So my brother would have been about 15. So a lot of the time he was in charge. And my dad would, so for parts of that, I think sometimes he did live actually at home, but for parts of that he didn't. But he did live close. He had this rental like real close to us. And so it was like literally a 1-minute walk, which was great, but also just he wasn't there. So, and he wasn't supportive of this at all. And so there would be times where, my mum would just arrange these she'd go away for a week-long study break, and she'd just kind of be like, oh, my older brother, he was in charge, and there'd be times when I'd get home from school and she'd call me in a panic, oh, Charlotte, you have to make dinner. You need to make dinner. And I'm like, oh, okay, like, yes, I can do that. But it's like, just chaos, you know, just like I'm like, I don't know how to cook. Okay, well, I'll talk you through it. It's all good. Like,
wow.
Yeah. And so, and my youngest sister was like 6, you know, and these are just my stories, and I don't think I'll even have time to tell all of the memories that I have, but like, there's 5 other siblings that have their version of events and stories to tell. So she was just basically gone for 5 years, and it was so chaotic.
Wow. Can I just ask, you started off talking about your parents by talking about how your dad became a Christian, your mum was raised in a beautiful Christian family, and then obviously they had that massive move. And amongst all of what is now happening in your childhood, was there still Christianity modeled in some way? Because just from what we're hearing, it doesn't sound like there was Christian fruits, I suppose, is the word.
Yeah, that's a really great question and a great way to ask it. The biggest thing I'm grateful for is that my parents really taught about relationship with God, or relationship with Jesus, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for that. That's what I inherited from them.
Yeah.
Wasn't a lot that I inherited, in terms of like emotional stuff, but that's one thing I really am grateful for. You know, like, we didn't go to church, so there wasn't a focus on like I don't know, there wasn't that like Sunday Christianity. There wasn't that. It was just like, have a relationship with God, lean on God always, like he is your perfect heavenly Father. He will never let you down. And that as a young child, I think I just grasped onto. And that was really the anchor in my life that I needed. And there's no memories of me like giving my life to God, or it was just always there. And I think from a young age, I just grasped onto that. And I think it's because I needed it. So there wasn't much modeled, but there was that real like, God is your perfect heavenly Father. You can lean into him and you can trust him. Which is amazing.
That's a gift. And I mean, even with everything, like you say, that is a great gift to give your children. And especially not to frame it, because I think some people frame faith and Christianity like, I am your example. And I love that they separated themselves from that and said, look, we might not be the perfect example, but you do have a perfect Father, and he's your heavenly Father. Yeah. He's the one that you can rely on.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
So how about let's kind of see where we're up to now. So your mum's, she finished her law degree?
Yeah.
And how old were you at this point?
Yeah. So I think I was about 17 maybe when she finished.
And what was that kind of teenage space like for you? Were you feeling grounded? Did you go into like this big rebellious phase, or were you just
I just loved the Lord. I actually started going to church with my big sister when we were like 13, and I loved it. Like started going to Easter camps and like, I'm so grateful for that too, because I just remember being in, like, I think if I hadn't experienced those powerful and like, just being in a room with thousands of young people worshiping the Lord, like just those environments are just so like, whoa, what is this like? And I want to be a part of this. And and so I just loved the Lord, and I just really, like I said, I grasped onto the concept of relationship with him from quite a young age. And I remember just like, from like 12, 13, I'd have prayer journals. I'd be writing Bible verses on my walls. I went to church every week. I went to the home group.
I love that.
Yeah, thank goodness. And I just wanted to do good, and I wanted to please God, and I wanted to please my parents even. And like, because remember, all of this was like normal for me.
True. Yeah.
I didn't know any different. And like right up until my early 20s, like I just actually, it's so funny to say, but I adored my parents, and I thought they were amazing parents, because they actually would, amongst all that chaos, they loved us, and they would do anything for us to the best of their ability. And so, I just wanted to like please my parents, please God. So at this very same time though, like the environment I was in, mostly at home, was not a nurturing one. And I think as I got older through my teenage years, my self-worth was like just diminishing. I became very like a shell of myself, actually. Like I didn't have good friends at school. I had a group of friends, but I kind of was just like, I don't know how to describe it. I just felt like I was just a part of the group, just so that I could have people to hang out with, if you know what I mean.
There wasn't that closeness.
Nah. And there were some days that, when by the time I was year 12, there were just days I was going to school and I just was like, I didn't understand it at the time, but I think, I had so much anxiety. I just had so much like, I just been through so much. And there were days where I'd just go to the sick bay because I just, at lunchtimes, because I just couldn't handle being around it. I just needed to like cry and be sad. But I had no concept of what was actually going on. So it was probably like, I don't know, I was getting depressed or something.
Yeah, it sounds like it,
Yeah, nothing really to say about my teenage years. Yeah, the other thing about my childhood was that my parents were also, mostly my dad, very end times focused. Like very, like we got raised being told constantly that we're about to enter into the end times, Jesus will be coming back, we're going to be at some point living in a bush, we won't be able to participate in society, everyone's going to hate us because we're Christians and want to kill us. Like honestly, like I'm not exaggerating here, like that is how we got raised. We're not going to be able to participate in society because we won't have any way of paying for that stuff.
Mark of the Beast.
Mark of the Beast, yes. And you can imagine Y2K. Oh, my goodness.
Everyone was, okay, look, so in the 80s, Jesus was supposed to come back.
Yeah.
And then in the 2000, like the year 2000, everyone was like, it's it. This is it. The new millennium. Jesus is coming back.
Yep.
But again and again, and man, it's just like we don't know.
We don't know.
And it's not, the Bible doesn't tell us to stress out about it. It actually tells us to be at peace about it. Yeah. And if anyone should be at peace about Jesus coming back, it's the Christians.
Yeah.
He's going to look after us.
Yeah, I think it becomes unhealthy when it's impacting your day-to-day sort of decisions and the way that you're raising your kids. And, you know, by 31st of December 2000, we had cupboards filled with baked beans, buckets of flour, rice.
Preppers. You guys were preppers.
Full preppers.
Wow.
And it's still the case.
Yeah.
And
really?
Yeah, like there's still, my dad is now also a street preacher about the end times.
Okay.
And so
bless him.
Yeah.
We love him.
Yeah, like in some ways I'm like, man, you have this, you know, almost assignment from God that you believe God is asking you to, and you're all in. And so from that aspect, I'm like, that's amazing. Mm-hmm. Do I agree with all of it? No, not necessarily, but you know, as a child being brought up in that environment too, it just shapes you. It really shapes you because it's like, well, what's the point? What's the point in achieving anything in life? Like soon we're just going to be hated and go back to heaven, which is great, but like what is the point of this life, honestly?
Wow.
Yeah, when that's all you're kind of prepped for. And yeah, and then the other kind of key message that we got told from my mum, or I did anyway, was that, hey, don't tell anyone about what's going on. As in, like, when you make friends at school or like with your friends at school, and don't let them know that, you know, your parents you're from a split family or you have all these troubles at home, because she literally would say to me, your friend, if their parents find out, they won't want you to be at their house, or they won't want their kids to come over to our house. Like they just won't want their kids to hang around with you.
Yeah. Wow.
And that message alone is like toxic, because
absolutely,
as you can imagine.
Yeah.
And so I just feel like, my whole childhood and my parents, you know, we just raised ourselves emotionally. My parents did not have the time to nurture us emotionally and teach us tools, because they didn't have them and they had their own problems. And there would be honestly times where the only time I kind of got that emotional attention from my parents was if they were like, oh, Charlotte, you haven't talked to us in the last 3 to 4 weeks.
Whoa.
Like, you know, like I would obviously be there participating in the family, but just avoiding at all costs just conversation with them. And they'd be so busy that they just kind of wouldn't pick up on it because there's so many kids. And then it would be like they'd take me out my mum especially would take me out for like a Magnum. Got to have a Magnum or a Ritz.
So lush.
Yeah, and so that would be the way of dealing with it. So just, you can imagine, as a young adult entering the world, I was just not prepared. I was battered and bruised internally, and just not set up to take on the world in a good way.
That was going to be my question, is how did that then affect you when it came time for you to start your own life?
Yeah, so I think I was a very hurt person, and I hurt a lot of people. And I was a high school dropout. I did one day of year 13 and I was just like, see, I had enough of this. Like,
I didn't do year 13 either.
No. Crack up, which I don't think matters. Like,
I was
honestly.
like, if I don't want to go to uni, what's the point in doing year 13? And I didn't want to go to uni. I was like,
there you go, you know.
Nah.
But for me, I was like, I have no plan, no idea, like no interests, no idea. I got a job at Snow Planet. And just went on to get random jobs.
That's a great,
actually was
young adult job.
Yeah, it was real fun. So, but all of my life, actually, all I wanted to do was get married and have babies and be a mama. That's all I wanted to do. So yeah, wasn't interested in getting a career. I just was like, that's it. Like,
which is interesting because you had such a tumultuous childhood. What do you think it was that made you have that drive to have your own family?
I think it's just a big part of it is just who I am, because now that I, have kids, I still don't want to do anything else, really.
Yeah.
Like, that is my world. But I think also, if I'm honest, a big part of that was like, I want to recreate what I didn't get, like
Do it right.
And give my kids what I didn't get, and create something more beautiful. Yeah, so that was the goal. And I entered into my first relationship when I was about 19, 20, and I had no business entering into that relationship. I look back and cringe. So the way that happened was this guy was actually seeing my best friend, and although they weren't in a relationship, she really liked him, and I knew that, and they were like, just like seeing each other, having fun. She's really into him. And one night I remember being on
MSN Messenger?
Yes.
I was going to say, I'm like, I know what you're talking about.
Was it? Nah, it actually might have been Facebook by then.
Facebook by then?
Yeah, I think it was, but crack up. I should have just rolled with that. And me and this guy were just like, we're friends. And so we're just chatting about like, what have you been up to? And then I'm like, oh, so what's happening with you and da-da-da. And he goes, oh yeah, like I really like her, but I also really like you. And I was just like, because I had no interest in him at all.
Wow.
Before that. And so I was just like, oh, well, obviously nothing is ever going to happen between us because you're with my best friend. That's what I said to him. But then, I don't know, something shifted in me in the next few weeks. I just was like, oh, this guy, he likes me. Like, he's into me. And I'd never had a boyfriend before, never really had guys ever tell me that they'd liked me. Like, it just wasn't ever a thing. And so I think just something shifted in me, and I was just like, oh, yeah, like
that is appealing enough. Yep. Somebody likes you. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that just paints a picture of my self-worth and like what I was willing to overlook to have that feeling of like, yeah. Anyway, so we started seeing each other behind her back.
Wow.
Yeah. And just started meeting up. And then like at this time, still loved the Lord, but had kind of, classic, you're young, had started going to parties and blah, 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 started drinking. And so it was very like, yes, love the Lord, but yes, also was dabbling in this, all that stuff. And so, yeah, one night I was at a party and someone saw us hooking up, and then she found out. And it was so horrible. Like, just, she was so gutted, and I, for a period, was like, oh, like, obviously I'm breaking up with him, and like, I'm so sorry, and just wanted to, rekindle that friendship and protect that. But after a while, I was like, oh, actually, I really like him. Can I? Because he still wanted to be with me. And so then, like, yeah, I wish I could say that I ditched that and just, nurtured that friendship. But no, I was like, hey. And she was like, look, if you like him, be with him, and I don't want this to end our friendship. What an amazing human. Yes, I know. Wow. Not even a Christian either. So, like, I could have learned so much from her. So I went on to, be in a relationship with this guy. And it's funny, I remember talking to randomly one of my big sister's friends about the whole situation, and she goes, well, Shah, just remember, any relationship that starts off dishonestly is probably not going to be a great relationship. It's probably not going to work out well. It's probably going to, and I was like, that is such good, it was really profound, but I still went on. I was just so desperate. I just think I was just so desperate to have any kind of love and to get married. And I really thought, okay, I really only wanted to be with one guy. I wanted to marry, the person.
So in your mind, this was the guy.
Yeah. And so, this was it. I was going to marry this guy, and our relationship was so average. I had no tools to be in a relationship, no tools for dealing with stuff. And actually looking back, it just really mimicked my parents' way of dealing with things. Whenever things got too intense, I would be like, we need to go on a break. Let's just go on a break. And so I'd like break it off kind of with him. And then like, I just need some time to, but, my parents were, were so dedicated to each other, actually. Like, they would always come back together because I think divorce wasn't an option. And so for me, I was just like, you always come back together, though. And so for me, that happened a few times in our relationship. I think we were together like maybe 2 years all up, but on and off. And I just fully believed, I was very naive, that this was the guy, no matter what, that I was going to marry. And we did talk about it. We talked about getting married and getting engaged. And
was he
having
Christian
kids.
at all?
He's from a Christian family, but
Okay.
it wasn't actually like, what's the word?
Practicing?
Practicing.
Yeah. And so both of you kind of had, this is going to end up a marriage. This is
like,
going to.
I don't know how serious he was about that, but we definitely talked about it. And yeah, and I was also, he had like slept with girls in the past. Like, that wasn't a value that he held strongly at all, and he wanted to do that in our relationship. And I was very like, nope, I'm saving myself because that's what I've been told, and genuinely wanted to as well. But my parents very much were like, if you don't save yourself until marriage, like, you would break our hearts. Like, pretty extreme messaging around that too. So I was really like, and I just wanted to do good and please my parents. And so I was just like, that was just me. I'm like, nope.
It's not an option.
It's not an option. And so, yeah, I really was doing what I thought was the right thing, which, obviously is. But, yeah, we broke up, got back together, and then broke up, got back together. And then the last time that happened, I think we were apart for maybe like 4 months, 5 months, and he came back to me after that and was like, hey, like, do you still want to be with me? Like, it's been a long time now. Do you still love me? And I just kind of like brushed it off, and I was like, no, I'm not ready yet, but like, still fully convinced that at any point when I'm ready, we would get back together and that we would continue on and like get married.
And he's just going to wait for you, yeah.
Yeah, fully. Like, I was his girl. And at that point, I think he was like, okay, well, I'm going to just leave this now, like not keep much around anymore, and fair enough. And so he moved on with another girl, and I randomly found out they were sleeping together, and I still was just like, whatever, she's just a counterfeit. Like, honestly, I was so like deceived. I was just so naive, and I was like, still, anytime I could, get him back. And it wasn't until we were at a party together, and like, we're at a mutual friend's party, and he came with this girl, but he came and sat right next to me, and he was whispering in my ear, like, you look so beautiful tonight. And I was like, yeah, see, I'm his girl still. Like, I'm still his girl. And then she walked into the room, though, and it was just this like light bulb moment where as soon as she walked in the room, all energy, like just everything shifted from me to her. And then she was like, we're going now. And he got up and left with her. And then that was when I finally clicked, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, I'm not his girl anymore. And I got really mad, actually, which is silly, but I did. That was my experience. I got real mad at God because, yeah, I was so upset, and I was like, I've done everything right. I've saved myself, and I've just done everything the way that I know how to do. And this was who I wanted to marry, my first boyfriend, and like, he's now with another girl, and like, what is, like, that's my husband. Like, ridiculous, like, looking back on it. But that was what my beliefs were. And I was so mad at God that at that stage I was like, I am actually I'm done with following you, God. Like,
wow,
I want to live my life making my own decisions. I want to be in control. I want to be in charge, because look at my life so far, following you, it's just been like this average as upbringing. And like, because by this point I had done I did a course called Soul Tour, which is a Christian course, and really so grateful that I did it. And it's this course that I guess it takes you on a journey of self-awareness, and it's like you tour your soul, basically, and you're like, what are my behaviors and what is shaping those behaviors, like, more so, I guess, the more negative ones in your life. And so it kind of helps you to see, like, okay, what's the thinking, what are the lies, the misbeliefs that you might be It just basically gives you tools to work out and look at, any lies that you might be believing, and getting to the root cause of the things in your life, any trauma you've been through, like whatever it might be, and gives you the tools to properly process and work through that, based on Jesus and
Scripture.
And so it was this amazing course, and it's pretty amazing that I did it actually. My big sister did it randomly, and she came back just being like, you have to do this. Essentially just like, how do you have good mental and emotional well-being? And this was like 15 years ago. This is way before anybody had any clue about that. No one was talking about that. There was no social media. Like it's so big today, which is great. But back then, like I had no idea about it. I had no idea what it was, the concepts, anything. But my sister was just like, you have to do this course. And something within me, I think maybe the Holy Spirit just prompted me to, you've got to do this course. And back then I was so bad with money, and it was an expensive course, and you had to pay for flights and accommodation. But I was just like, I have to do this course. And so I just started saving, and I got down there and I did it. And it was this, it just really changed the whole trajectory of my life, I think.
Wow.
So the reason why I'm saying this is because suddenly I became self-aware of, actually my upbringing was not normal. At all. Like I had a terrible upbringing, and this has really shaped me. And like I am someone who's really hurting, and I've got a lot to deal. So on one hand, and they say at the course, like you're not going to leave here fixed. You're actually going to leave here probably the most broken you've ever been, because suddenly you're very aware of.
Wow.
But we've given you the tools for a lifetime to start processing and dealing with all that stuff. And so I'm just in that course. It was just such I was meant to do that course. And so, by the time that I had sort of like this relationship had broken down, and I was just mad at God, because I was aware, like I've been through all this stuff. I've tried to do the right thing. Stuff you, I'm out of here. And it was so ridiculous. I started making my own decisions. And for me, honestly, I don't even have wild stories. But I did go and sleep with a random guy, which I'm just like, which actually didn't impact me in a huge way, I don't think. And I've broken off soul ties and stuff since. But I'm just like, it just sucks. I just wish that wasn't the decisions I made, but it's all good. Doesn't, just lost my virginity like at 22 to some random dude. And then just started, drinking and partying more, and just I moved to Sydney quite quickly with my best friend. We decided, let's go and just, I don't know, travel the world, do whatever, have some adventures. And so we did that. And I spent maybe I think maybe a 5-month stage of my life where it was just all about partying. And it wasn't even that extreme, to be honest. I got to the stage where I was like, I want to start doing drugs and doing.
Wow.
I don't even know. I'm so out. I've so never been in that world properly that I would have no idea what I was actually talking about. But it's like, I want to do drugs.
It's like the prodigal. You just wanted to go and live your life.
Yeah.
And just, spend your money on things that, it doesn't really matter. It's just wild living, I guess.
Yeah. Free range living.
Yeah.
But very quickly, I think it was just like moving to Sydney after a breakup where suddenly this guy was with someone else who I thought I was going to marry. I was away from my parents for the first time, who, that's a big thing. And then away from all my family, and I'm away from God. And those are also my sources of love. They might not have been healthy sources of love. Obviously God was, but, and I think very quickly I was like, oh no, this sucks. This life is not the one. I'm like, okay, God, no, it's not worth it. I just felt so empty, so alone, so just desperate for God to be back in my life, basically. So
literally like the prodigal, he came to his senses and he was like, what am I doing?
Yeah, it happened so fast. It was like this little 5-month wilderness season where that wasn't even that wild, but I just quickly, I just was like, oh no, this is not worth it. My parents actually came over for a 1 week holiday, and because I had started processing and kind of seeing, it was like, you know how you kind of naively just think your parents for a very long, you're just like, yeah, you're amazing. Like I said, I thought for a very long time, my parents are my world. And suddenly as an adult, I was just like, oh man, actually they're not. I just started to see them in a different light, they're not the perfect people that I believed them to be. And so when they came on this holiday, it was kind of, I'm realizing all this stuff, and it was just a very intense holiday, just really. By the last night, I ran out onto the street, and I just was like, just started bawling my eyes out. Like it was just this big build up that I messaged him, and I was like, can you come out on the street? And I just told them everything. I was like, I've just let you guys down. Like I've slept with this random guy, and they were gutted, and I think they cried, and like, I think we ended up praying. They prayed for me, and then I gave my life back to God, and
wow,
I went home, and I started this sanctification, sort of season with God, and it was more real this time because I think I had like a realistic understanding of what I had endured and that I needed healing, and so now I was leaning on God for to actually like start healing me. And so I'm still in Sydney, and my best friend had found a boyfriend she was madly in love with, which was so she was kind of so it was just really a lot of the time it was me and God, and a lot of crying because just a lot of grieving, a lot of big moments, which was great. It was actually what I needed. And I got a really great job in Sydney. I got offered the contract for it, and it was at the time what I thought was my dream job. It's what I was doing in New Zealand by the time I'd left, and the pay packet was like insane for someone who like had it was $60,000, but I was like, oh my, like
so much money.
I haven't gone to uni, like I've just worked I'm getting paid $60,000, and I was like, oh, this is like insane. But I was really like yearning for home, and I hadn't accepted the job yet, and I just remember this really profound moment with God where I was like, I don't know what to do here. Like Sydney is fun and I do love it, but I don't have any friends. I don't have community. I'd been to church a couple of times on my own, but hadn't found a church or anything. And I was just at a real crossroads, and I was like, I don't know what to do here. If I go home, it's like I'm going home to nothing, but I do have family, friends, home, it feels like home. I just remember God saying, Charlotte, it doesn't, the choice is yours. It doesn't matter what you choose, just stick with me, like just cling, like just stick with me, and I will make a beautiful life either way. Like the choice is yours. And I was like, whoa. Like it's the first time, I think that's the first time I really heard God sort of like speak to me, and I felt such a peace, and I was just like, that's all I have to do. That's actually all I have to do is seek the kingdom of God first. It's all I have to do, and God does everything else.
So true.
Surrender,
so true.
Trust. He actually does everything else. We don't have to try and curate these lives for us.
Yeah.
Really hard to do though, just thinking about that. Anyway, I chose to go home, and like I said, went home to nothing, and went and lived with my parents, which was tense. And oh my gosh, okay, so back to when my parents split up for that time. We're just going to fully jump back right now. They split up for the longest period of time when I was about 16, I maybe 16 to 20 or something like that. And my mum had another sort of affair, like they were separated, but also my mum, one thing I really, really loved about my mum and felt really inspired, that's not the right word, just like I really looked up to her for it, was she always said to me, I know that we split up, I know that we separate, but no matter what, I'll always be loyal to your dad. I will never be with anyone else. Even though she already had this emotional affair, but she was like, I would never be with someone else. I don't want you guys to have a stepdad. Like she just always say that to me all the time. And so I was like, yeah, that's amazing. Like I just really was in awe of that. And when I was about 19, I was at her house and I was on her computer and an email popped up and I just saw the first line and I think I was just so in shock. I clicked on it and I very quickly found out that my mum was sleeping with another man. And I was just like,
oh my goodness.
oh my goodness. And, you know, like I said, they were separated and whatever, like she can make her own decisions. But for me in that moment, everything just shattered. Like that was kind of the main thing that I respected her for, I guess, was this, like, yes, her life is constantly a mess, but she's always going to be loyal to my dad.
That's what you're holding on to.
Yeah, it was the last kind of thing that I was holding on to, and that just shattered. And then after that, she divorced my dad because she's a lawyer and knows how to do that without telling him, because he was doing nothing about the marriage. And so she applied for a divorce.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, obviously now she's done all the studies, so she knows what she's doing.
Yeah,
but
so it's
wild.
Yeah, so, but I was the first person that she told. She called me, and so this was maybe, I can't remember the timelines exactly, but yeah, maybe like 6 months after. And she called me and she's like, I've just divorced your dad. And I was like, I was at church at the time actually. And yeah, so I took the phone call. She's like, just divorce your dad. I'm like, divorce is like, for a child, is just the most earth-shattering thing. You know, and it doesn't actually matter if you're an adult or a child. It's just impactful. And I'm just like, okay, like, have you told, like, does he know? She's like, no. And I'm like, yeah.
Wow. So she didn't even tell him?
Hadn't told him. She told me. She asked me to tell him, and I was just like...
She asked you to tell him?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
And I remember just ending the call, and it's just shocking, and you're just like, I don't know how to process anything at this point because I've been taught no tools. And I remember I was like, to my sister, she was at church, and I was like, I need to tell you something. And we go over to like a private sort of corner, and I'm like, Mum's divorced dad. Like, she just rang me and told me. And I remember literally I cried. I burst into tears when I told her. But 30 seconds later, I remember just being like, stop crying. You don't cry over this. Like, just, that's it. And that is how much I processed it in the moment. And I think I just held on to it for years. And so my dad, I think I did call him and I was like, hey.
Oh my gosh.
You need to talk to Mum, like, you're not married anymore. But weirdly enough, a couple of years later, she just turned up on her doorstep and was like, let's continue on. And he just took her back.
So did they stay divorced or did they get remarried?
Yeah, so they're remarried now.
Wow.
Yeah. And so I think they've been remarried for like 12 years. They just got, re-signed the papers at the registry office.
Yeah.
And yeah, I will just leave it at that. No comment. Yeah, and they have stayed together that whole time.
Mm.
Yeah, so I think not having the stress of 6 kids anymore, they just have managed to stay together, which is good.
So when you came back from Aussie, you were living with them and they were remarried?
Oh, yeah, so they were remarried. So I was living with them, still really on this healing journey, in the sanctification process with God, because I really just was like, at this stage, it's like, I love you, God. Like, I need you. I trust you. And so, I'm living with them. And I was driving my mum's car. I was actually serving papers. I was doing some work for my mum. Don't know if that's legal.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. But I'm like this young, like 22-year-old girl. I'm serving papers. Just something for someone, I can't remember. But she just needed me to do that. So I did it. But I'm driving her car home and I cut off a cop, apparently. That's what they say. They pulled me over and they're like, you cut me off. And I'm like, no, I didn't. No. They're like, actually, we've been looking for you. And I'm like, hey. They're like, well, you have lost your license. So apparently when I was living in Sydney, they turned up on my doorstep of the flat I was living in and were like, does Charlotte live here?
Oh my God. How would you?
Just like demerit points from speeding too much.
Wow. So they will come and hunt you down.
Yeah.
Wow. I had no idea.
You can't just ignore that.
Wow.
Yeah. And so they took my license off me at like on the spot. They were like, you have to get someone to pick you up. And so, I've come home. I'm living with my parents who I'm now like, oh, you guys, like, you ruined my life. Nah. But like, it was tricky. It was a tricky time. And lost my license. So I was kind of just stranded in the small town they lived in. And yeah, I just pressed into God. It was a really tricky season, but yeah, he really was doing some healing work in me. And so it was, it was almost a season that I needed.
Yeah.
Really hard. Lots of shame around. I don't know. It was just hard. There was just lots coming to the surface. But eventually I got a really amazing flat with some Christian people, started going back to my old church, got my license back, got my old job back, which was great. Amazing. So I'm like living and working in Ponsonby, going to church again, loving it. And
is that how you met your husband?
Yeah, I met my husband there.
Here's what's coming up in part 2.
I came up with this idea. I'm like, okay, I'm going to become a travel influencer. It really took off. This is going to be our lifestyle.
Wow.
We're going to do summers in New Zealand, winters in Bali. I've nailed it. I have, thank you, God.
Yeah.
Life is so freaking good. Yeah, this is my dream. I get to home birth in Bali and be pregnant in Bali. We went to the dating scam, Balinese hospital. The guy is just like, do twins run in your family? Wait, why would you ask me that? And he goes, you're having 2 babies. And I was just like, no, I'm not. That is not true. That is not happening. Just full shock. And so, yeah, the twins were maybe 3 months old. A massive rupture happened in our marriage. Big betrayal. And my world just went. I kept doing water healing. I went on to do Reiki.
This is while you're processing the separation.
Yes, I started doing psychic readings. I was just desperate to know what is going on.
Hey, thanks again for listening to this episode of the Outside of Sunday podcast. Don't forget to leave us a comment if something made you laugh or cry or think a little deeper. Please let us know. And as always, sharing is caring, so don't forget to let somebody you know about this podcast. Outside of Sunday is part of the Outsider Network and is made with the help of Inspirational Media.